vacation for new hires. To learn more or apply, go to continentaljobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and we'd like to say thank you for a record-setting 2023. So let's start off 2024 with the bang. They've got huge trade-in bonuses and finance bonusing happening right now on our new inventory at Koppel. Get up to $8,500 off select new models at Koppel. So if you're shopping for a new GM product, go to our website at koppelcars.com. You won't believe the discounts. Make that short money-saving drive down 144th Street. You'll be glad you did. Must have trade and finance with roof credit. Stock number G207684.
Garage doors can be expensive. Are you keeping yours in the best condition possible? This is Cameron Hall with Doors Plus. Doors Plus is a locally owned business that prides itself on the fast, reliable, and friendly service. Doors Plus offers flexible scheduling so you can book an appointment that fits your busy day. My team and I will come out to your property, both commercial and residential, and provide you with the necessary information you need to make sure your garage door is in working and smooth condition. Give Doors Plus a call today at 402-590-5800 to book an appointment and learn more about our preventative maintenance plans. Doors Plus, garage doors, and more.
Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric brings exciting career opportunities for you or someone you know. They are now hiring plumbers, electricians, and HVAC techs and installers to continually build their professional team. They offer competitive pay and full benefits packages that include health, dental, vision, PTO, and 401k options. Action has created a positive team environment for over 50 years. Apply online at actionlincoln.com.
I could write a commercial telling you how great waffle weekends are at the chocolate season. Or I could just have Rico read you the menu.
Banana Nutella. Nutella topped Belgian waffle with homemade whipped cream, chocolate chips, and freshly sliced bananas. Baconator. Buttermilk waffle with bacon slices tucked inside, topped with salted whipped butter, caramelized pecans, and pure maple syrup.
Waffle weekend brunches at the chocolate season.
PB&J.
40th and Old Cheney or online at thechocolateseason.com.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. Live from the heart of Lincoln, America. Welcome to Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hello and welcome into the Daily Nebraskan Show on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. I'm Ben Droz, one of the sports writers at the Daily Nebraskan, also producer here at The Ticket. I'm joined here by Anthony Rubik, one of the assistant sports editors at the Daily Nebraskan. And Anthony, I wonder what we're going to talk about tonight. Did anything happen in Lincoln that has Husker fans excited? Excited might be pushing it.
I don't know. I didn't really watch anything tonight.
Me either. I was just, watching Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
Chilling on my couch. But, that's not actually what we did. We watched what every single person in Lincoln, Nebraska was watching. And that was the Husker basketball game. Nebraska gets it done against Wisconsin in double overtime. What a game.
Exactly.
I mean, that's just the first thing I want to say is what a game. Nebraska beats the number 6 team in the nation 80-72, even on a night where Tominaga had only 2 points. Mast, Wilcher, Bryce Williams, they all got it done for Nebraska.
Yeah, it was just obviously a tale of two halves. Yeah. First half couldn't have gone any worse for Nebraska. I mean,
no,
they were giving up open shots, lazy passes, turning the ball over. They just couldn't find a rhythm with shooting wise. Wisconsin was up 19 at one point, went into the half up 16, and then it just completely switched all the way into Nebraska's favor. Obviously, guys like Tominaga having an off night, that's where guys like CJ Wilcher really stepped up. I mean, he wasn't just the spark. He was an explosion for Nebraska in the second half. Just completely helped reel them back into it. That whole lineup with him, Mast, Williams, Hoiberg, and Gary, and then Alec there sprinkle in on defense was just unstoppable for the Badgers. And it was a tough game. We got to see some free basketball with it as well.
Yeah.
And you just can't be more excited for a Husker fan.
Okay, before we get any further into this, if you guys, if anybody has any comments, Sutter Heyman text line is open. We will receive your texts, and we will read them. 402-464-5685. Again, that's 402-464-5685. Or you can comment on any of the YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, any of those. We already got a YouTube comment. Should the Huskers be ranked?
As much as I'd want to say yes, I think with just how they've been on the road in the losses, they have ranked up there. Maybe. I think they are probably going to be receiving votes for the first time.
They're going to be receiving
non-conference
votes.
play.
Yes.
I think, honestly, they don't have another game since then. Obviously, going back to the Purdue game, they had a little trap game against Iowa on the Friday before rankings. So they're going into the poll hot. I could see them maybe sneaking in.
Yeah. I mean, okay, I'm forgetting. When does the AP rankings even come out? I'm having a brain fart. Is it
Monday, I think.
So remember, we have Illinois in there.
Yep.
Nebraska has Illinois.
Oh, shoot. That's right.
So if Nebraska
Quick turnaround.
also beats Illinois, yes.
Oh, yeah. That's a no-brainer then.
But I'm going to say, even if they lose to Illinois, they're going to get votes in the poll. I just don't think it's going to be enough for them to crack it yet. If Nebraska loses to Illinois but then beats Northwestern, and then I need to look at the schedule. If they beat, they probably have another game later that week after Northwestern, then probably. I feel like they'd get into the rankings.
Yeah, but their next game after that would be a home game against Michigan.
Yeah.
Should be.
Yeah. So I would say if there was no Illinois game before the rankings, I would say possibly, but the Illinois game, you're probably going to also have to win that if you want to get in the top 25. I'm just going to, this would be my guess, but you never know. There's not that many absolutely great teams. Every team is losing to everybody. There's no team that's just you know what I mean? Just above everybody. Nebraska, even if Nebraska beats Illinois, they could be top 20, top 15 ranked. Maybe that's even too low if they beat Illinois on Sunday.
Then if they just keep on winning, pick up a road win against Northwestern, then we're really talking.
But we do need to pump the brakes because Nebraska still doesn't have a road conference win yet. And wouldn't it be so Nebraska, though, if the first one they got was against a ranked Illinois team? Wouldn't that be such Nebraska?
With the way they played in this second half, I mean, they're going in hot, just like the other games.
But if I were to guess, after the Purdue game, Nebraska didn't play too hot. After the Northwestern game when they won, didn't play too hot. When they beat Michigan State, which that was a big win, didn't play too hot after that. They've kind of, after the highs, they've kind of went to rock bottom right after that. So I'm going to guess they don't get it done against Illinois. But, Husker fans are on a high against Wisconsin right now. I don't even want to talk about the Illinois game yet. We're going to touch on that later in the show. I first want to say, if Nebraska played like they did in the first half and the second half, and they lose probably by 25, okay, Nebraska would have then been on a 2-game losing streak, lost to Maryland, lost to Wisconsin. Nebraska would have then had Illinois on the road, then Northwestern on the road. Nebraska doesn't have a road win yet in conference play. Very easily could have lost both of those. So Nebraska then would have been on a 4-game losing streak. It could have been really bad. And if that happened, okay, Nebraska doesn't beat Wisconsin, would have lost to Illinois and Northwestern, 4-game losing streak. Nebraska would have needed to pretty much win the rest and then probably have a run in the Big Ten tournament to make the tournament, in my opinion. They would have, because the Purdue game, outside the Purdue game, what was Nebraska's best win so far this season? Besides, if they wouldn't have beat Wisconsin here, Northwestern.
Yeah.
And then after that, Michigan State early in the season. Maybe I'm blanking on the team, Indiana. Maybe that's a quad 2 win. Then again, that doesn't really move the needle. This was such a needed win for Nebraska to not be in a position where they would have to be super hot going to March, make a run in the Big Ten tournament. This win, I think, solidifies Nebraska as an NCAA tournament team. As long as Nebraska doesn't just, I want to say a phrase I'm not going to say on the radio, though, as long as they don't just completely Nebraska it up and just play like crap the rest of the way, they're pretty locked in.
Yeah, I mean, this game, especially just the second half, the adversity they faced the entire way, this just shows how special this team really is.
Yeah.
Just going back, I still remember it was a non-conference game against North Dakota where Nebraska was down by double digits in the second half, came back and won. CJ Wilcher said post-game that in teams he'd been on in the past, Nebraska loses this game. But they just have this fight. They have this determination. They're built for these kind of moments. And tonight just showed it in a massive way. Probably just a statement win for Fred Hoiberg, for this Nebraska team. You cannot be excited, or you can't not be excited for the Huskers after their performance tonight.
We have Danny on the YouTube stream. What seed line do you see Nebraska on after tonight's game? See, I appreciate the question, Danny. I really do. But I also don't like that question because we're not even close to March. We just started February. If the season were to end right now, Nebraska would probably be an 8 or 9.
Yeah.
I would guess. But then again, they still have 9. Is there 9 more games left to see? 9, I think. There's still a lot left to be decided. And that's not even counting the Big Ten tournament. So, I get, if it were to end today, they'd probably be 8 or 9 seed. So I would say that. But it's just tough because, so you know what? I'm just going to go with it. I'm going to predict. So Nebraska, I'm just going to say if they lose to Illinois on Sunday, beat Northwestern on the road, okay, and then plays halfway decent rest of the season, wins 1 or 2 games in the Big Ten tournament, they probably are 8 or 9. I would say 8 or 9. They probably wouldn't move. They'd probably just be same 8 or 9 seed.
Yeah, it's so hard with just seeding this early. I know first day of February, but I really just focus on that stuff in March because but think about when Nebraska beat Purdue, that put them in around that 8 and 9 range.
Yeah. And then
they went on a couple spell. They fell a little back, got down to the bubble, beat Northwestern, beat Ohio State, moved back up to that 8 and 9, then lost to Maryland. Joe Lenardi has them in the last 4 in his latest ones. They'll update tomorrow morning. So we'll see where he has Nebraska at, probably in that 8 or 9 spot. But
yeah. We also got another YouTube stream message from Ben. Is this a top 3 win of the past decade for Nebraska basketball? I would say so.
I think so, yeah.
This win, I don't want to say it saved Nebraska's season because if they lost this game, Nebraska would have still easily had a chance to make the tournament, even if they lost to Illinois and Northwestern. You just need to play very strong rest of March. You just had to play really strong rest of March, have a decent run in the Big Ten tournament. You probably would have gotten in as a bubble team. Why this win, though, is probably a top 3 win of the last decade is now Nebraska has a chance to, not just barely sneak its way into the NCAA tournament. Nebraska has a chance to be the higher seed in their matchup. They have a chance to get to 8, 7, 6, even if they beat Illinois, 6 seed. This win just, it mostly just solidifies that Nebraska doesn't make the tournament. I have no doubts in my mind now this is a tournament team.
Yeah, for sure. This is definitely a top 3 win because in just going back, I'm sure in years past they've beaten a top 10 team before or a ranked team. But in the end of the day, that was just like a little nice highlight for a season that really went nowhere. This is a team that is an NCAA tournament caliber team. They're in the field. They've been in consideration, and a win like this really kind of helps get them over the edge. And it kind of just makes me reminisce of the 2014 no-sit Sunday game between Wisconsin and Nebraska, another top 10 team, a win Nebraska had that ultimately propelled them into that tournament field for their last tournament berth since then. And I think that game, 2014, so decade ago, 10 years, that, and then I'd honestly say Purdue this year and Wisconsin this year are up there. They've really gave Nebraska the signature wins that they really needed.
Yeah. And I don't want anyone to ask me which win was bigger, Purdue or Wisconsin, because they're both equally as big.
Yeah.
But you know what? Let's get more specifically into the game. If you would have told me that Tominaga had 2 points, Nebraska only shot 33% from the 3-point line, I would have said Nebraska would have lost by 20, 15, 20. Unless I would have said Mass would have had to have a crazy night. But he had a good game, but it wasn't like Ohio State crazy. It was just the all-around effort of the team.
Yeah. It was a rough night for Casey. 1 of 7 from the field. And they were some good looks too. Like, it wasn't like he was forcing shots up, heavily contested shots. He was getting genuine open looks. They were
He
hitting
just wasn't hitting
everywhere on the rim, just not falling through. And yeah, that's how it looked like the game was going to be. Just one of these games, kind of similar to the Creighton game at home, where, Nebraska is at home. They're great at home, but they couldn't hit a shot. They couldn't hit a shot from deep. And then the second half, CJ Wilcher kind of gives that spark. And then Rank Mass.
CJ Wilcher. I want to say this. I'll let you keep going. CJ Wilcher has been the most consistent player, at least over the last month for Nebraska. Like, I don't think there's any debate. Like, he literally has been the most consistent player on this team. Maybe hasn't had the Rank Mass performance. He hasn't had that type of performance, but like, no player has consistently just gotten into the double digits, shot well from 3-point line every single game.
Yeah.
It's just every game.
Yeah. Like, going back to the Maryland game, he was the only Husker that really.
He was the only one in double digits.
Yeah, only one with double digits, shot 5 of 7 from the field. Everyone else was struggling. He was good. And then same thing this game, 7 of 10, 5 of 7 from 3. He really just helped push that big run. And then it was guys like Mass that kind of just dominated the second half down the stretch. 2 of 8 from 3. He hit a big 3-pointer to tie the game up with a minute to go. Again, 2 of 8 of 3, not 6 3-pointers, but like Ohio State. But I was really impressed with how Rank Mass did in the post, how he did in the paint. I was very critical of Nebraska's last game against Maryland. They only made 7 field goals that were inside the arc. And in a game like this, where you're struggling from deep, you needed to go inside. And Rank Mass just definitely had his way. He was able to, pick his way into some favorable matchups down the stretch. And he was just able to capitalize at a very, very high level in the second half.
Okay. So I'm once again going to go away from the game a little bit. So I know what this win means for, it means Nebraska's going to make the tournament. But I still, even with a win over Purdue, win over Wisconsin, I don't know how to feel about this team when March does come and they're in the NCAA tournament. I don't know how I'm going to feel about this team.
Yeah, it's obviously the road games. It's so difficult to judge a team that could beat anyone at home but lose to anyone on the road.
Yeah, this is a team that could easily just put up a stinker first round and lose to just the worst team in the tournament. Or just be anybody. Like, I don't know how to judge this team when they go into March, because Nebraska is one of the most inconsistent teams. Actually, they're actually the most consistent team at always winning at home and always losing on the road. So I guess they are consistent at being inconsistent. But I just don't know what this win means for this team. Like, overall, how far they can go into March Madness in March. Like, I don't know what this means.
Yeah,
it means they can beat this team, but will they?
Going off of tonight, I wouldn't say I'm confident in this team into being a team that could go on a run in the tournament, but I feel kind of more secure about that. I feel more like those odds are more likely to happen than them just putting up a stinker in round 1. I can see them at least being competitive in a game, and they're still, again, we're in February now, still a month left of the season. After you get through those 2 rough games at Illinois and at Northwestern, very favorable schedule going forward.
Yeah.
They'll have chances to kind of hopefully correct those road mishaps.
Even, if they beat Michigan on the road, whoop-de-doo. That doesn't move the needle at all for me with this road thing. It's the fact that, not even saying this would be played on the road. If this was a neutral court, I don't think Nebraska wins this. Nebraska needed everything out of that home crowd. They needed every single person in that crowd to be cheering for them to win tonight. This is not a game they win if it's an NCAA tournament game. Even if it's close to Nebraska and there's a bunch of Nebraska fans in attendance, I think has to be PBA or they don't win this game. And I know Husker fans just want to make the tournament, so they probably don't care how, that I care about how far they can go on the tournament. But I don't know. I am not confident in this team. Even after this win against Wisconsin, even after beating Purdue, I'm still not confident this team can make a run in March. I'm just not.
That's fair. That's valid. I think, again, obviously PBA was on another level tonight. I talked about how the Purdue game was the loudest PBA has ever been, at least I've ever heard it be.
Yeah.
Tonight was even louder than that. Obviously, the
That's
students
crazy.
were at this game.
That's
They
why.
weren't at the Purdue game. It was just a wild, wild scene.
Mhm.
Every time Chucky Hepburn touched the ball, just barraged in boos. It worked out in the first half. For Chucky. Second half was not really his best. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't really Wisconsin's best in the second half either. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just don't know how to feel about this team's chances of being able to make a run, because it's just like you don't know how to judge this team. I don't. Like, because every single time they've gotten a big win like this, they've just fallen flat right after.
We'll just have to see
their
if they
first good
repeat
win.
that.
Their first good win of the season was Michigan State, I would say. Put up a stinker after that. Then they beat Purdue. Go on a skate after that. They beat, who was before this team? They beat Northwestern, then lost to Rutgers and Maryland. Or was Rutgers before that? No, Rutgers was after that. And now they beat Wisconsin, and you have Illinois and Northwestern on the road. Easily two games that they can lose.
At least the games. Again, Illinois, obviously I'm not trying to say Rutgers loss was not bad. It was bad, but if they show some fight in these games, I'm not too worried. Even if they lose a game by single digits, one of these next two or both of them, I'm not that worried.
Yeah, I mean, Nebraska needs to win one of these two for me to actually feel confident about this team's chances in March. They just do, because we've just seen how this team is outside of PBA. And I know it might not be what Husker fans want to hear, but I'm just not confident in this team's chances of making a run, because they just haven't shown that they can do it outside of the home court. They just haven't shown it.
It's fair. I think, again, big win tonight. I think we focus more on that. Obviously, the games going forward are going to tell themselves, going to say a lot about this team. But tonight really showed me a lot about just the fight this team has. Just they had the ability to come back down from adversity, the ability to do so without your star player having a good game, with him on the bench for a majority of the second half. And yeah, I mean, I think, again, Wisconsin, number 6 in the country, had won 9 out of their last 10, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying if Wisconsin beat Nebraska, like before this game, yesterday when I was on the show, I said if Wisconsin beats Nebraska, I feel like they really should be challenging Purdue to be above Purdue in the Big Ten rankings and like overall in the AP rankings. Like, I really feel like Wisconsin should have been above, because apparently Nebraska, this is who they are at home. Nebraska is almost unbeatable at home, it seems like. Even on a night where their best player has like 2 points and they were down 19 at one point, they still somehow find a way to come back and win. But yeah, I mean, again, Husker fans probably aren't worried about how far they can go in March. They just want to be playing in March. So that's why this win was so big. Nebraska is very likely going to be playing in March. The only way they won't is if they just completely fall apart toward the end of the season. But with that, we got to throw it to break. When we come back, we're going to get Cameron King on the Owl VIP line. He was at the game, covered the game for the Daily Nebraskan. We're going to get him on. We're going to ask him about the atmosphere, what it was like being at that game. All of that and more is coming right here on the Daily Nebraskan show on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
When you were a kid, clubs were cool. Robotics club and space club and stuff like that. But what do adults get? Book clubs and quilting clubs? Nah, forget that. How about margarita clubs and old-fashioned clubs? Get to Upside Bar and Lounge for the best clubs in town. Try all 10 varieties of Upside margaritas or old fashions and take home a free souvenir glass. Grab the whole crew and pair it with taco night on Mondays or whiskey Wednesdays. Upside Bar and Lounge at 29th and Pine Lake.
Liberty Law Group is committed to the defense of your liberty and pursuit of your justice for those that have been injured. My name is Seth Morris, attorney with Liberty Law Group. If you've been injured in an accident that wasn't your fault, call 877-42-LIBERTY. Our relentless trial attorneys are committed to the highest quality legal representation. At Liberty Law Group, we will fight for you. Call 877-42-LIBERTY. Again, That's 877-42-LIBERTY. At Southeast Community College, community is our middle name. Our continuing education classes offer personal interest, traffic safety and licensing, online learning, and adult education classes across Southeast Nebraska or online in your own home. Learn to ride a motorcycle, how to start a small business, how to dance, or take a course to advance in your current career path. See the full schedule of continuing education classes online at southeast.edu/continuing. SCC, your path to possible.
Problem gambling affects millions of Americans daily, of all ages and walks of life. If your loved one is struggling with addiction, contact Choices Treatment Center's 24-hour helpline at 402-476-2300. That's 402-476-2300.
Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now, they've raised wages again, and they're hiring for production operators at $24.62 per hour, which grows to $28.97 per hour within 3 years. Skilled trade positions now start at $33.36 per hour, with opportunities to make more based on certifications. Continental also has salary jobs available and great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates, with increased bonuses and vacation for new hires. To learn more or apply, go to continentaljobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
Hi, it's Joel Norman, the voice of your Lincoln Stars hockey team. Tune in to 93.7 The Ticket every Tuesday night from 8 to 9 p.m. to hear the latest on the Stars with myself, head coach Rocky Russo, and special player guests.
This is Brad with Midwest Bank, proudly serving our Nebraska communities for over 70 years. We're a community bank, making local decisions, supporting local organizations, and helping local businesses and farms succeed. We are dedicated to serving our clients and helping them meet their financial needs with sound, innovative banking solutions. From an array of checking and deposit accounts, cash management services, to small business, real estate, and ag lending. We're here for you. Your community, your bank, Midwest Bank. Find out more at midwestbank.com. Member FDIC.
Okay, kids, Dad's gonna teach you how to dance. First, spread your feet apart. Then, pump your knee, nod your head, shake your hips, and bite your lip ever so slightly. Now, with one hand in the air, point at people with the other hand. I call that the rock star.
Dance like a dad. It's a great way to make a moment with your kids.
Now, make a face like it just smells something bad.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
I'm Jenny Benson, president of the Nebraska State Education Association. The best way to strengthen our economy for the long term is investing in our education system and raising the skills of American workers. To succeed in the global economy, we need to modernize our schools, hire excellent teachers, and focus on the future. Support great public schools, and we can make the good life even better.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association. Aired in cooperation with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them?
By their clothes,
their age,
the way they speak. Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Banks Strong, and the Ad Council.
Husker fans, your Nebraska wrestling team is back at the Bob Devaney Sports Center for a Big Ten matchup on Sunday, February 4th against Illinois. The duel begins at 2 p.m., and the first 350 fans will receive a Nebraska wrestling pennant. For more information or to secure your tickets, visit huskers.com/tickets or call 402-472-3111. Again, that's huskers.com/tickets or call 402-472-3111.
Back to the Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hello and welcome back into the Daily Nebraskan Show on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Still coming off the high of the Nebraska overtime win over Wisconsin. And now, who was at the game on the LOVIP line, we have Cameron King. Cameron, do we have you?
Insane. Absolutely insane.
That's the perfect way to open this. Cameron, I just want to first, before we really dive into the game, what was it like just after the game, the court storming, second time the court's been stormed, at first Purdue, now Wisconsin. Just what was it like, the atmosphere after that game?
It was really no words to even describe it. It was just, everybody was almost in shock still because the comeback kind of came out of nowhere. It happened very quickly. and people were just happy, just joyous. It was people screaming, yelling, cheering, jumping around. I heard some people saying we should be the number one team in the country. I don't know about all that, but it was a crazy environment for sure.
Yeah, Nebraska gets the overtime win over Wisconsin. I mean, like Anthony said in the show, it was a tale of two halves. The first half, not what Husker fans wanted to see. Tominaga and Mast, I think, combined for like 5 points in that first half. But second half was all Nebraska. Cameron, what was the main difference, in your opinion, from that first half to the second half?
It was the energy that they played with. The starters all game kind of didn't really have it. They weren't necessarily engaged in the game, especially on the defensive end. They left people open a lot. And on the offensive end, they were kind of resorting to taking a lot of isolation shots, just all kind of playing as individuals. But the bench unit, which Coach Hoiberg went with a lot more in the second half, they played with just a different level of energy. They brought it on the defensive end, getting several stops in a row, and just diving 50-50 balls. And on the offensive end, they really shared the ball. Even when Wilcher got it going, they still kept in mind that other people needed to score as well. And that allowed them to start chipping away at the lead. That and Wisconsin started just taking horrible shots.
Yeah.
Hey, Cameron, Anthony here. Obviously, big factor in the second half was CJ Wilcher. Kind of helped spark Nebraska on that massive run. And of course, he really got the whole team going with his three-point shooting. He's really just been on a tear as of late, kind of the last 10, 11 games. What has been working for him? How has he been able to play at this high level for such a long time?
Well, the coaching staff is putting him in really good positions. He's coming off the screens. He's getting open looks, and when the looks, getting open looks early, and after he makes a couple, he's such a good shooter. After he sees a few fall, they just all start to fall. It felt like everything he put up tonight was going to go in, especially after he made the first couple.
Yeah, I mean, Wilcher, off the bench just looks so comfortable in his role. Does exactly what Nebraska needs him to do. Like I said earlier, he's been the most consistent player for Nebraska over this past month. But somebody that's kind of been on a skid lately has been Keisei Tominaga. What do you think has happened to Tominaga over these last 3 games? Hasn't gotten the double-digit points, has not shot well from the field. What do you think's going on with Keisei?
I think at this point, he's in his own head. There's a couple times tonight where he had open looks, and there was a guy closing out, but normally, like earlier in the season, he would have just shot it over him. And tonight, he was up faking and taking an extra dribble and shooting it, and it was just throwing his rhythm off. You can just tell he really never got a chance to get into the game tonight, and over the last few games, he's really been struggling to just find rhythm in general. It looks like he's just disconnected from the team at the moment.
Yeah, on a little bit of a skid, but this is Keisei Tominaga we're talking about. It shouldn't happen for long. I said yesterday, and when I said this, I didn't even realize it was Keisei Tominaga's birthday today. So, when I found that out, I was like, oh man, this is going to be a legacy game when Nebraska beats Wisconsin. Didn't go out that way, but Nebraska still found the win over Wisconsin. I want to ask you this, though. While Wilcher, Mast, Bryce Williams, while they're going to get the headlines for, who played the best for Nebraska, what Hoiberg and Alec did on the defensive end, bringing the energy in this game. While Wilcher was making the shots on the offensive end, what Hoiberg and Alec were doing on the defensive end was just as important. Can you talk about just the energy that Alec and Hoiberg bring to this team?
Yeah, especially Hoiberg, he was in people's jerseys tonight. He was like when Wisconsin would kind of get flustered just because no one on Nebraska was providing that type of defensive pressure that he was tonight. So it's like an off-speed pitch in baseball or something like that. It's something you don't expect. It's just when the whole team is playing one way, you have one guy playing with that type of level of intensity. It's hard to deal with, and it led to him getting a lot of 50-50 balls, beating people to rebounds, saving balls, especially the one he got in the second half that ended up leading to Nebraska score. he provided a spark for Nebraska that they don't win tonight without him.
No, they don't. While he didn't bring as much offensive impact, everything he did on defense was just so critical, and it just doesn't show up on the box score. So to anybody that didn't watch the game, please go back and watch how great Hoiberg was. Like, even if you did, just Hoiberg was so good in that game. Just the energy he brought. He really reminds me. Now, I don't like doing comparisons to NBA players to college a lot, but he reminds me of what Marcus Smart does a lot of the time. Like, he just brings that energy on defense. While Hoiberg's not somebody that you would expect to, kind of be a defensive specialist for Nebraska, he really has been that this entire year. Cameron, if you were to point out one thing that was the difference in this game, what was it for Nebraska that allowed them to pull out this win?
To me, it was they didn't fall in love with the three-point shot. A lot of times, especially when they make a couple early, they tend to shoot a ton of them. And tonight they ended up shooting less than Wisconsin, which allowed them to get to the rim and get to the free throw line. They ended up having a huge free throw advantage over Wisconsin. And that ended up being the difference in the game, especially because Wisconsin really only had two guys show up tonight.
Yeah.
On Hepburn and AJ Storr for most of the game were the only two scorers. Klesmit got it going later in the game, but for most of the game, it was just those two. So Nebraska getting to the free throw line, having multiple guys get there multiple times allowed them to rack up points in other areas, and eventually they just were able to overrun Wisconsin.
Yeah, and then another player that I realized me and Ben didn't really talk about much in the first segment, but Juwan Gary.
Yeah, he
back from injury after missing the last 3 games. Looked fine out there, played 33 minutes. Fred Hoiberg had him playing the 3 for a lot of the second half.
Mm-hmm.
How would you assess his performance tonight, Cameron?
Yeah, he played great. It was nothing I would necessarily jump out to you on the box score, kind of like what you guys all said about Hoiberg, but he's like a connector. His presence was definitely felt out there tonight, and it's something that the team acknowledged in the press conference, and that they've just been missing. Like he gets the ball in transition, and he immediately advances it. He gets rebounds. He drives when the Huskers offense gets stagnant. He back cuts. He was huge out there tonight in many different ways, and that's why coming off an injury, coming off the bench, he had 33 minutes tonight, which ideally Coach Hoiberg didn't want to give him that many minutes tonight.
Yeah.
But you just couldn't take him off the floor. He led the team in plus minus tonight at a plus 21, and it doesn't show in any other stats, but you could definitely see it.
Cameron King on the Owl VIP wine. One thing I wanted to throw to you, the stat I just saw, I was looking at the TV broadcast, recapping the game. Wisconsin in the second half and overtime didn't have a single bench point. 0 bench points in the second half and overtime. Nebraska had 25. What does that say to you? Just the fact that Wisconsin didn't get any production from their bench in that second half and overtime.
Yeah, so you could tell, like, after a while, as Nebraska started coming back, we were just in the media section, we kept looking up at the scoreboard and just looking at the scores by player, and you would see Storr and Hepburn move, and no one else really would for long stretches in the game. They really weren't getting anything from their guys off the bench, and it's hard. Bench players, they don't travel well on the road all the time. They tend to be a little more inconsistent, as Nebraska's found out, as some of their bench contributors don't play as well on the road. But you could see that the lack of production from their bench players were forcing Storr and Hepburn to force more in the second half and overtime, which made them easier to guard. Another thing that really went wrong for them as well is their turnovers compared to shot attempts in the second half and overtime. They only ended up with one more shot attempt than turnovers in those 2 periods.
Yeah. I mean, and that is a big reason why Nebraska won this game. So Nebraska is an undersized team. Okay. And when you're an undersized team, that means you're probably going to get out rebounded in most games, which has been the case for Nebraska. So when you're an undersized team, you can't also be turning the ball over because the other team's already getting more offensive rebounds than you, which means they're getting more chances. You can't also give them more chances by turning the ball over more. Nebraska, that was the main thing against Maryland, was that Nebraska had 18 turnovers. In this game, only 12. While that's maybe still a little bit more than you want, that's still manageable compared to the 18 against Maryland.
And a majority they have was in the first half.
Yeah.
So they really picked it up in the second half as well. Just really picked up their game. Cut back on the lazy passes. Obviously, Chucky Hepburn got a pair of easy steals in the first half because of those errant passes. So, yeah, very improved effort on Nebraska on that end.
Cameron, one last question I want to ask you before you go. Cameron King on the Owl VIP line. So, Nebraska now 2 wins on the season over top 10 opponents. How far, I mean, it feels pretty safe to say that Nebraska's pretty secure in the NCAA tournament as long as they don't go on a huge losing streak. How far do you feel after this game do you think Nebraska can go in the NCAA tournament?
In the NCAA tournament, realistically, I would say they could win. They're a second weekend team. They can win 2 games for sure, depending on who they draw. A large part of it will be who they draw. They struggle with teams that have bigs that can pass.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times you can see against Wisconsin tonight, their bigs would get flustered when they would get double teamed, and it led to some of the turnover issues that we just talked about. But against teams like Creighton, as they have Kalkbrenner, who was able to find the opposite side pass, they give Nebraska fits. So it really depends on the draw. But this is a team that they can beat anybody in the country and they can lose anybody in the country. It just depends on how far their shooting will take them. I would say a safe expectation is that they win a game, and I think it's completely within the realm possibility that they win another one.
Yeah, this team is consistent at being inconsistent. Cameron, thank you so much for joining us here on the Owl VIP line. Hope you had fun at that game. Once in a lifetime opportunity to be there. Again, that was Cameron King on the Owl VIP line.
Thanks,
Have a good
Cameron.
night.
Yep.
All right, so we're going to throw it to break here. And when we come back, we're going to want to specifically preview the Illinois game. Going to kind of pull back a little bit from Wisconsin. We've talked about the Wisconsin game for 40 minutes now. I kind of want to preview ahead against Illinois, a tough road game coming up. All on that and more on the Daily Nebraskan Show right here on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Husker fans, this is Matt Davison with the 1890 and it can have an immediate impact on the success of our programs. The 1890 Initiative is Nebraska's premier NIL company, and with your help, we can maximize our student athletes' opportunities with NIL and prepare them for life after college. Nebraska has always been a leader in college athletics. Let's do the same with NIL. To learn more, visit 1890nebraska.com, where 100% of your donation goes directly to Husker student athletes. That's 1890nebraska.com.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 a.m, my phone rang. They said, "I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action." Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full-time, and I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Tune in to the Malone Radio Show from 9 to 10 p.m. every Sunday night to learn more about the Malone Center's goal to eliminate multi-generational poverty in Lincoln. It's the Malone Radio Show every Sunday night from 9 to 10 p.m. on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? By their clothes, their age, the way they speak? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job,
not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters?
Or a mother who's in between jobs and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner?
Or a 14-year-old girl who signs up to every after-school activity, not to make friends, but just to get something to eat. Or a retiree who fell ill and had to choose
between getting medicine or groceries.
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. People you pass by every day but never knew were hungry. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Banks Strong, and the Ad Council.
As an 18-year-old, I let my mistakes kind of take over my life. I was 0.5 credits away from completing high school, and I didn't do it.
10 years later, at age 28, Jackie finished her high school diploma.
When I found out that I was pregnant, I know that I had to do something for myself if I wanted to make her a better person and provide a better life for her. My family never stopped pushing for me to be better because they knew what I could become and who I could become as a person. My support team is amazing. The educational director, my sister, and even my 7-year-old daughter has just been more than the support that I could ask for. I've been given an opportunity, and I'm just thankful for it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric brings exciting career opportunities for you or someone you know. They are now hiring plumbers, electricians, and HVAC techs and installers to continually build their professional team. They offer competitive pay and full benefits packages that include health, dental, vision, PTO, and 401k options. Action has created a positive team environment for over 50 years. Apply online at actionlincoln.com.
A smoke-free environment is the only way to fully protect from the dangers of secondhand smoke. That's why smoke-free policies are so important to me. Whether it's in my car, apartment building, or when I'm dining outdoors, there's no place for secondhand smoke or e-cigarette aerosol. Breathe easier knowing the facts. Visit smokefree.ne.gov. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Dance like a dad. It's a great way to make a moment with your kids.
First, I hold my hands out like they're on a steering wheel. Then I look over my shoulder. Next, I put it in reverse.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
I'm Chris Jakimick. I served in the United States Air Force, and I deployed 3 times. So in 2017, I was serving as an Air Force First Sergeant. Our motto in that role is, "My job is people, everyone is my business." But unfortunately, in that year, I would lose my own brother, Lance Corporal Adam Jakimick, to suicide. The majority of veteran suicides are from guns. I store my weapons securely, not only for myself, but for my family. Store all your guns securely. Help stop suicide. My service never stops.
Brought to you by End Family Fire and the Ad Council.
Healing the heart takes heart. Our dedicated team of cardiac experts is here for you with breakthrough treatments for serious conditions and expert advice for living longer with a healthier heart. We bring healing care to our community with over 90 cardiology specialists and subspecialists and more than 50 locations across Nebraska, Southwest Iowa, and northern Kansas. Find out how we heal hearts with heart, starting with yours at chihealth.com/heart.
At Allo, we believe in the exceptional. From extraordinary whole home coverage to super fast speeds, our local teams are always on hand to make sure your service is running at top performance. Let go of lag, banish buffering, and enjoy outstanding service throughout your entire home. We believe in delivering nothing less than exceptional service, so that's exactly what we do. Visit us at allofiber.com to experience the exceptional.
In every office, there's 2 types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels & Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win, and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday, you lost Wednesday, you're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels & Joe. Back to the Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hello and welcome back into the Daily Nebraskan show. We have one last segment here. Ben and Anthony still staying up with you guys. We've got about 8 minutes left on this last segment. So before we wrap things up, we really want to preview the Illinois game because this is our last show of the week. So we're not going to have a show until next Monday. That'll be after the Illinois game. So I really want to get a quick preview going here. I know we're still, Husker fans, still coming off the high of this Wisconsin game, but stick with us. Illinois is still a big game for Nebraska. A big chance to, have your first conference road win, be probably the toughest one you have so far this year.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, obviously the win tonight, massive for Nebraska. If they're able to follow that up with a win over another ranked team, a top 15 Illinois team, they will be ranked. There will really be no doubt whatsoever about this team in the NCAA tournament. That really nearly secure their spot. And I mean, this will be a tough game though. Obviously, Illinois, in my Big Ten power rankings, they're always in that top 3.
Mm-hmm.
Wisconsin losing tonight, maybe have them swoop. Honestly, maybe if Nebraska, getting ahead of myself, but if they beat Illinois, they already have a win over Illinois. They have a win over Illinois. They have a win over Wisconsin, win over Purdue. Number 1.
Yeah. I mean, this Illinois game is going to be tough, though. Illinois ranked in the top 25. They have won 3 out of their last 4. The only loss over that stretch was in overtime on the road against Northwestern.
Yeah.
Not a loss that's going to kill them. They've been pretty solid. I mean, all their wins over these last 4 games have been, amazing. Michigan, Rutgers, Indiana. But, this is still a team. This is still an Illinois team that is going to be tough on the road. I would say this is probably Nebraska's second toughest road game of the year. I would say the Wisconsin is probably the toughest. This is the second toughest so far this year. I mean, I would be surprised if Nebraska wins this game. And it's like I said before, every time Nebraska's been on a high, they've immediately crashed down right after. It would be something else if Nebraska does pull out this win against Illinois, just because of the fact that, it'd be 2 ranked wins in a row. I don't know when the last time Nebraska's done that. I'd have to look into that.
Yeah.
Didn't look that up before the show, but I mean, it's going to be a tough game. I said before that this is the toughest game of, this 3-game stretch, this tough 3-game stretch Nebraska was on, and with Wisconsin, Illinois, Northwestern. This is the toughest game coming up.
Yeah. Illinois, they're just a really well-rounded team. They really have 4 players that can go off at any moment. There's Terrence Shannon Jr., who missed a little bit in the middle of the season with a suspension. He's back now, and it looks like he's shaking off the rust. He's back to his prime form as he was before the suspension. He had 23 points in their last game. Marcus Domask was a guy who really stepped up in Shannon's absence. He's averaging 15.5 points per game on the year. And then they have 2 really great forwards in Quincy Guerriere and Coleman Hawkins. Those are 2 guys. They're both averaging around 11 points a game. They're both averaging over 6 rebounds a game, with Guerriere averaging nearly 8. So Illinois as a whole leads the Big Ten in rebounds a game, leads it in offensive rebounds a game too. Obviously, that's been a struggle for Nebraska. They were out rebounded tonight, pulled out a win, but usually, especially in these road games, Nebraska really gets dominated on the boards.
That's the scariest thing for me, is how good Illinois is at rebounding. So what does Nebraska need to do to win? 1, they need to play with the same energy they did tonight.
Yep.
Because they're not going to have the home crowd behind them. We've seen it. Nebraska hasn't done it without the home crowd. They're going to need to play with the same energy. Hoiberg on the defensive end, they're going to need all of his effort.
Yep.
CJ Wilcher, Casey Tamanaga, he's going to have to get going. You just feel like he's going to have to get going. Nebraska's not going to be able to keep pulling out good wins without Casey Tamanaga playing good. And second, Nebraska's going to not turn the ball over, because they're very likely going to get out rebounded. You can't also turn the ball over. I said that earlier. I'm going to say it again. Nebraska probably, if they're going to beat Illinois, probably needs to be 10 turnovers at most, 10 to 11.
Yeah, I think maybe even less than that.
Yeah,
honestly.
I mean, that might even be too much.
Yeah, it's been a struggle. It was a struggle for the first half of tonight. They were able to clean it up in the second half. But again, you're right. They're not going to be at PBA. They're not going to have, 17,000 Husker fans yelling every Wisconsin possession, getting dead silent every Nebraska possession so that they can run their offense. They won't have that going for them. And it's just going to be a very intense matchup, very intense team they're going against. A team that's really, Illinois is kind of falling back in the Big Ten race. I mean, the loss to Wisconsin tonight helps.
Yeah.
Them and Purdue, I think, are tied for the lead in conference play. Illinois is a loss or two behind them. They want to get back up there. They're a team they're that third team behind Purdue and Wisconsin. And if they want a chance at the Big Ten title, at least for the regular season, they're going to have to string off some big wins.
I mean, yeah, they're getting Illinois at kind of the perfect time. Illinois is not coming into this game too hot. While they've won 3 out of the last 4, they haven't been, any of those have been great wins. So they're not catching Illinois where, they're on fire, playing amazing. Nebraska has a chance. I'm just not feeling confident because it's on the road. I want to get your prediction real quick before we get out of here. What's your prediction for the game?
Yeah, I think I got Illinois winning. I think it will be close. I can maybe see it being even a single-digit loss for Nebraska. But, again, I don't think – they haven't been able to win on the road all year. I don't think they're going to do it this time.
Yeah, I agree. Nebraska, I mean, it would be something else, though. This is the first conference road win they get. But with that, me and Anthony are going to get out of here. You're listening to the Daily Nebraskan Show on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Everybody, enjoy your night. We're out of here.
The place you call home should always be a place of comfort. Warm and cozy in winter, cool and relaxing in summer. If your home isn't delivering the comfort you expect, call Bryant. It's more than just hot and cold to them. It's about providing the best comfort solutions. And Bryant gives you a full 24-month test drive on your home comfort system. Get full details at BryantLincoln.com or call 467-1111. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. We do whatever it takes.
Okay, kids, Dad's gonna teach you how to dance. First, spread your feet apart. Then, pump your knee, nod your head, shake your hips, and bite your lip ever so slightly. Now, with one hand in the air, point at people with the other hand. I call that the rock star.
Dance like a dad. It's a great way to make a moment with your kids.
Now, make a face like it just smells something bad.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Start your Sundays off right with Jeff and Nicole Essink on Fitness Fanatics. Jeff and Nicole discuss health and wellness, how to achieve fitness goals, and more through the life of gym owners and gym goers. It's Fitness Fanatics from 9 to 11 a.m. on Sundays on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hey, it's me, your cell phone. We need to talk about something serious. I know you love me. I know you like using me wherever you are, but I feel like this isn't working out when you're driving. I know you may think that it's possible to focus both on me and the road, but I just don't feel the same way. I think we should spend time away from each other when you're driving. It's for the best.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 a.m, my phone rang. They said, "I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action." Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full-time, and I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Ashiro's work is never done. You care for the house, the kids, and our future. We're so grateful for all you do. Now it's time to care for yourself and save a little more for retirement. A free 3-minute online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to boost your retirement savings now. Visit aceyourretirement.org/Shiro today.
A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Finally, a good reason to have a